Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Audra brings Claire's biological mother to meet Victoria. The truth is revealed. Victoria Newman had always prided herself on control. Her boardroom decisions were razor-sharp, her instincts honed from decades of maneuvering through Newman family politics and corporate wars. But control felt like a fragile, fraying thread the moment she got the message from Audra Charles that morning. Meet me at the Newman ranch. It's about Claire. It's urgent. The text was brief, no hint of the smirk Audra usually wore like armor. It was almost cautious. That alone made Victoria's pulse quicken. Audra cautious meant something monumental had shifted. When Victoria arrived, she was greeted not by the usual smug business banter but by the heavy stillness of the great room. Audra stood near the French doors, hands clasped tightly, her eyes flicking toward the entryway as though she were guarding a secret. Next to her stood a woman, early 50s, dark blonde hair falling in soft layers, her features etched with tension and a flicker of fear. "Victoria," Audra said, voice calm but deliberate. "This is," she paused, almost as if weighing whether to say the name at all. "This is Evelyn Dawson." Victoria extended a hand automatically, but her sharp blue eyes searched the woman's face. There was something vaguely familiar about her, an echo of a jawline, a shade of hazel in the eyes that stirred something unplaceable. "Nice to meet you," Victoria said, her tone polite but edged. "I take it you're not just here for small talk." Evelyn swallowed hard, her hand trembling slightly as she clasped Victoria's. I'm here because I think it's time you knew the truth about Claire." The words landed like a tremor under Victoria's feet. Her hand tightened imperceptibly before she released it. She glanced sharply at Audra. "The truth? We've been through so many layers of truth already, Audra. What exactly is this?" Audra's eyes flicked to Evelyn. "It's not my story to tell, but I'll say this: Claire's past isn't exactly what either of us thought. Evelyn is her biological mother." For a heartbeat, Victoria thought she'd misheard. Her mind flashed to Claire, sweet, fragile, trying to piece her life back together after Jordan's twisted manipulation. Claire had been told her parents were dead, that she'd been abandoned. They had worked so hard to build trust, to give her a place in the Newman family. Now this stranger was claiming to be the woman who had given her life? "That's impossible," Victoria said flatly. "Claire's biological parents were not who she thought." Evelyn cut in softly. "I know this will be difficult to believe, but I'm telling you the truth. I gave birth to her 23 years ago. Her name wasn't Claire Grace then, it was Emily Dawson. I lost her when she was just 6 months old." Victoria's stomach twisted. "Lost her how?" Evelyn's eyes shone with guilt. "I was young. Too young. I made some terrible choices, got involved with a man who was controlling, dangerous. When I tried to leave, he took her. I searched for years, but he covered his tracks. Eventually, I was told they'd both died in an accident. But they hadn't. He gave her to someone else." Audra stepped in, her voice sharper now. That someone else was connected to Jordan Howard. The name hung in the air like a toxin. Victoria felt her jaw tighten, memories of Jordan's cruelty flashing through her mind, how she twisted Claire into believing the Newmans had ruined her life. "You're telling me Jordan had her from the time she was a baby?" Victoria asked, her tone incredulous but laced with horror. "Yes," Evelyn said, her voice breaking. "Jordan was part of the same network. They moved children around, changed identities, erased paper trails. By the time I learned the truth that my daughter was alive, Claire had already been living under Jordan's influence for years." Victoria's mind reeled. She had fought to believe that Claire's attachment to Jordan had been solely about emotional manipulation during her teenage years. But this was a lifetime of stolen identity. A lifetime of lies. "Why now?" Victoria asked sharply. "If you knew she was alive, why wait until Audra of all people brought you to me?" Evelyn's gaze dropped to the floor. "Because I didn't know how to reach her. I tried contacting the police, but without proof, they dismissed me. And I was afraid. Afraid that if I came forward, Jordan or someone connected to her would come after me too. Audra found me." Victoria's eyes darted to Audra, her suspicion barely concealed. And you just happened to find her. Audra's mouth curved into a tight, almost defensive smile. I had a lead. Someone in Chicago owed me a favor. They pointed me to Evelyn after I started digging into Jordan's old contacts. I figured if there was even a chance she was telling the truth, you'd want to know. Victoria crossed her arms. Or maybe you figured it was leverage. Another way to insert yourself into my family's business. Audra's expression didn't waver. I'm not the enemy here, Victoria. This is about Claire. Evelyn stepped forward, her voice trembling but urgent. I'm not here to disrupt your life or hers. I need her to know I'm real. That I didn't abandon her. I want the chance to tell her myself. Victoria's breath caught. She imagined Claire hearing this, the hope and confusion in her eyes, the wound it might reopen. She had been making progress, therapy, stability, a job at Newman Media. Bringing Evelyn into the mix could unravel it all. What if she's not ready? Victoria asked, her tone softer now. Then I'll wait, Evelyn said, her eyes glistening. But at least you'll know the truth. And maybe one day, she'll want to hear it from me. For a long moment, silence filled the room. The ticking of the grandfather clock was the only sound. Victoria's gaze moved between Evelyn and Audra, weighing trust against caution. She saw no malice in Evelyn's eyes, only a raw, aching sincerity. But she also saw the cost. Once this truth came out, there would be no going back. Finally, Victoria exhaled. I'll need to confirm everything. DNA test. Background checks. Every detail of your story. Evelyn nodded without hesitation. Whatever you need. Audra stepped back, letting the tension ease by degrees. I'll make the arrangements. Quietly. No one else needs to know until we're sure. Victoria's gaze lingered on Evelyn. If this is real, and you are her mother, you need to understand something. Claire has been through hell. She's learning who she is for the first time in her life. If you hurt her intentionally or not, I won't forgive you. Evelyn's voice was barely above a whisper. I wouldn't dream of it. I just want to love her. If she'll let me. Victoria felt the weight of the moment settle over her like a storm cloud charged, inevitable. She didn't know if this revelation would heal Claire or shatter her. But she did know one thing. The truth, once uncovered, could never be buried again. And as Audra's eyes flickered with something unreadable, a mixture of triumph and curiosity, Victoria couldn't shake the feeling that whatever came next, it wouldn't just change Claire's life. It would change all of theirs. Victoria didn't waste time. She might have been wrestling with a storm of doubts, but she also knew hesitation could be dangerous. Every day Evelyn's existence remained unconfirmed was another day that Audra might twist the situation to her own advantage, or that Jordan's shadow could somehow resurface. The next morning, she arranged a private meeting at Newman Enterprises. No press. No outsiders. Just Victoria, Claire, and eventually Evelyn. Claire arrived early, clearly in good spirits. She had been making real progress lately, her hair shinier, her smile easier. She greeted Victoria with a hug that felt warm, not guarded, and immediately launched into a story about a minor social media campaign she was working on for Newman Media. Victoria found herself torn. Part of her wanted to soak in that lightness, to freeze this version of Claire before the inevitable storm. The other part knew that delaying would only make the blow sharper. Claire, Victoria began, her voice gentle but firm. There's something important I need to talk to you about. It's about your past. Immediately, she saw Claire's shoulders stiffen. The openness in her eyes dimmed just slightly. My past. Victoria nodded. You've been told certain things about where you came from, about who your parents were. But I've recently learned that some of that information may not be accurate. Claire's brows knit together. Is this about Jordan again? Because I already know she lied to me about everything. I've been trying to move on from that. It's related, Victoria said softly. I met someone yesterday who says she's your biological mother. Claire blinked. Once. Twice. A slow, almost imperceptible shake of her head followed. That's not possible. My parents are dead. At least, that's what I was told. I know, Victoria replied, keeping her tone steady. That's what I believe too. But this woman, her name is Evelyn Dawson, she has a story that, well, It lines up with some of the gaps we've never been able to fill in. Claire leaned back in her chair, arms crossing tightly over her chest. So what, you just believe her? Because she shows up and says she's my mom? No, Victoria said firmly. That's why I arranged for DNA testing. The results aren't back yet. But I thought you deserved the chance to meet her before we move forward. You don't have to decide anything today. You just have to listen. Claire's lips pressed into a thin line. And if she's lying? What if this is just another person trying to mess with my head? Then we'll deal with it, Victoria promised. Together. There was a long pause, the silence filled only by the faint hum of the office vac system. Finally, Claire let out a sharp breath. Fine. I'll meet her. But the second I feel like this is some kind of trap, I'm walking out. Victoria nodded. That's fair. She stood, crossed to the door, and gestured to the receptionist. Moments later, Evelyn walked in. The moment their eyes met, something in the air shifted. Evelyn froze just inside the doorway, her hands trembling at her sides. Claire, for her part, didn't move, her expression unreadable, but her gaze locked on the woman before her. Claire, Victoria said softly, this is Evelyn. Evelyn's voice wavered. Hi, Emily. Claire's eyes narrowed. Don't call me that. My name is Claire. I know, Evelyn said quickly. It's just, that's the name I gave you. When you were born. Claire's breath hitched, though she masked it with a short, bitter laugh. You know, it's funny. People keep telling me they know things about me. My life. But somehow, no one ever seems to know me. Evelyn stepped closer, her eyes glistening. I want to. I've wanted to since the day you were taken from me. Claire's gaze sharpened. Taken? Yes, Evelyn whispered. I was young. I was with a man I thought I loved. He became controlling, dangerous. When I tried to leave, he took you. I searched everywhere, but he vanished. Years later, I was told you'd died in an accident. I mourned you for over 2 decades, only to find out that you'd been alive all along. That you'd been with her. Claire flinched at the unspoken name Jordan. Why now? Claire asked, her tone brittle. Why wait until I'm, what, a project for the Newman family? Because I didn't know where you were until recently, Evelyn said, her voice breaking. And because I was afraid. Afraid that if I came forward, I'd lose you all over again. But then Audra found me, and Claire's eyes snapped to Victoria. Audra? She's behind this. She introduced us, Victoria confirmed. But this isn't about her. It's about you. Evelyn's hands twisted together. I'm not asking you to believe me right away. I'm just asking for the chance to tell you my story. The truth. Claire stared at her for a long, heavy moment. Then, in a voice so quiet it was almost lost in the space between them, she asked, do you even know what my favorite color is? Evelyn's lips curved into the faintest, bittersweet smile. I don't. But I'd like to find out. For the first time, Claire's gaze softened just a fraction. But the wall was still there, and Victoria could see it. I need air, Claire said suddenly, standing so abruptly her chair scraped the floor. She walked past both women without another word. Evelyn's face crumpled, but she didn't move to follow. I've waited 23 years, she murmured. I can wait a little longer. The fallout. Victoria found Claire outside, leaning against the balcony railing, staring out at the city skyline. That was a lot, Victoria said carefully. That was insane, Claire muttered. And if it's true, it means everything I thought I knew is even more screwed up than I realized. It doesn't erase what you've been through, Victoria said. But it might explain some of it. Claire turned to face her, eyes glistening. And if it's a lie? Then it's just another hurdle we'll get over, Victoria said. But if it's the truth, it means you have a chance to know your real mother. Claire exhaled slowly. I don't know if I'm ready for that. That's okay, Victoria said gently. You don't have to be. Meanwhile, back in the office, Evelyn sat across from Audra, her voice low. She hates me. She doesn't, Audra said coolly. She's scared. And scared people put up walls. But trust me, if this pans out, you'll have an opening. Just don't push too hard. Evelyn studied her, suspicion flickering in her eyes. Why are you helping me, really? Audra's lips curved into that unreadable half-smile. Let's just say, helping you helps me. The Newmans are all about family. If Claire decides she wants you in her life, it changes the way Victoria makes decisions. And I'm always interested in shifting the board. Evelyn frowned. You make it sound like a game. Everything's a game, Audra said, standing. The trick is making sure you're the one holding the winning hand. The test results. 3 days later, Victoria received the envelope. The DNA results were definitive, 99.9% match. Evelyn Dawson was, without question, Claire's biological mother. Victoria sat in her office, staring at the paper. She knew this was the moment everything would shift again. Claire would have to face the truth whether she wanted to or not. And with Evelyn's existence now verified, the question wasn't if she'd be part of Claire's life, but how. And deep down, Victoria couldn't shake the nagging worry that Audra had set something in motion that none of them could control. Victoria didn't waste time after getting the DNA results. She called Claire into her office, the envelope resting on the desk between them like a loaded weapon. I got the results, Victoria said quietly. Claire sat, her posture stiff. And they confirmed it. Evelyn Dawson is your biological mother. Claire stared at the envelope as though it might explode. So, that's it? I'm supposed to just believe her now? Pretend everything's fine and start calling her mom? No, Victoria said, shaking her head. This isn't about pretending. It's about knowing the truth and deciding what you want to do with it. Claire looked away, her voice tight. I don't even know if I want to know her. That's your choice, Victoria said. But she wants to know you. And no matter what you decide, you should know that she's not going anywhere. The first step. Against her instincts, Claire agreed to meet Evelyn again, but this time somewhere neutral. They chose Crimson Lights, the safe middle ground where emotions could be tempered by the comfort of steaming coffee and the low murmur of background chatter. Evelyn arrived early, clearly nervous. She'd traded the tailored coat from her first meeting for a soft blue sweater and jeans, perhaps trying to appear less like a stranger and more like someone approachable. When Claire walked in, her steps were slow, measured. She didn't sit immediately but studied Evelyn from across the table. You ordered for me? Claire asked, noticing the untouched mug. Chamomile tea, Evelyn said with a tentative smile. They said you've been ordering that lately. Claire's eyes narrowed. You asked about me. Yes, Evelyn admitted. I've been trying to learn little things. Not to pry, just to feel closer. They sat in silence for a long moment before Evelyn spoke again. You look so much like my mother when she was your age. The same eyes. Same stubborn chin. Claire let out a small, reluctant laugh. Everyone says I look like Victoria. Evelyn smiled faintly. That too. But there's more to you than what the Newmans see. The conversation drifted from the safe favorite books, music to the raw. Evelyn told Claire about her early 20s, about the controlling man she had once trusted. She didn't hide the mistakes, and she didn't soften the pain. I was reckless, Evelyn admitted. I thought I could handle him. But I underestimated how dangerous he was. And when I tried to leave, I paid the price. Claire's gaze softened, just slightly. You could have fought harder. I thought I had, Evelyn said, voice breaking. And I will regret for the rest of my life that it wasn't enough. Meanwhile, across town, Victoria was at Newman Enterprises, reviewing a quarterly report when Audra appeared in her doorway. I heard Claire met with Evelyn today, Audra said casually, leaning on the frame. Victoria didn't look up. Word travels fast with you. Audra smirked. I like to stay informed. How'd it go? Better than I expected, Victoria said, finally glancing up. But that doesn't mean I trust your role in this. You should, Audra said, stepping into the room. I didn't bring Evelyn here to cause trouble. Victoria's expression hardened. You never do. And yet, trouble always seems to follow you. Audra's smirk deepened. That's because I know where to find it. And sometimes, it's worth the risk. A hint of the past. 2 days later, Evelyn came to the ranch to see Claire again. This time, Claire seemed more open, still guarded, but willing to listen. But the visit took an unexpected turn when Victor entered the room. He stopped short at the sight of Evelyn, his sharp eyes narrowing. "You," Victor said, his voice low. Evelyn froze. "You remember me?" "Oh, I remember," Victor said, stepping closer. "Chicago. 15 years ago. You were working for a man named Randall Price." Claire glanced between them. "Who's Randall Price?" Evelyn's expression tightened. "He was the man who took you from me. The one I thought you'd died with." Victor's jaw clenched. Price wasn't just dangerous, he was connected to an underground network. And Jordan Howard had ties to it. The room seemed to tilt for Claire. "So all of this, Jordan, you, him, it's all connected." "Yes," Victor said. "And if Randall Price is still alive, this isn't over." Later that night, Claire sat alone in her room at the ranch, the day's revelations swirling in her head. Evelyn wasn't just a lost mother, she was tied to the same dark web that had shaped Claire's entire life. A knock sounded at her door. It was Victoria. "Can I come in?" she asked. Claire nodded. Victoria sat beside her on the bed. "I know this is a lot. And I know it's going to get harder before it gets easier. But you're not alone in this. You have me. You have the Newmans. And whether you decide to let Evelyn in or not, you have a family." Claire's voice cracked. "I don't even know what family means anymore." Victoria took her hand. "Then we'll redefine it together."